which I know can get a little dry and boring, so I'm going to try to liven it up a little bit. So I'm going to have a couple of questions throughout the day, and if you answer it correctly, you will get a City of Dublin Shamrock Stress Relief. So my first question is, with the interchange upgrade phase 1, when is it to start?
2014.
September.
Well, it is 2014, so I was going to throw these, but you guys are a little further away than I thought you would be. That wouldn't be good.
Well, that was the right person to get that.
All right, so, like I said, I'm going to talk about the stormwater in the City of Dublin, and these are all of the elements that make up the stormwater management program within the City of Dublin. We have our master plan, which I'm going to go into a lot more depth later on, that Camp Dresser McKee, a consultant, prepared for us back between 95 and 98. We have maintenance dollars that we receive from council that we keep the catch basins in the roads or different facilities in place, and that's basically around $300,000 a year that it takes to keep those things moving and running and nice and clean. Our capital improvement projects, which would be a specific larger dollar project. Right now we're doing a Bear Run remodeling of the stream area, and that, along with some work in Amberley Park, is around $511,000 for those two projects. Then we have our NPDES permit compliance, and that is with Ohio EPA, and there are certain things that we have to do. Of course, we're Dublin, so we always go above and beyond what EPA wants. Chapter 53 is our stormwater regulations. That's the code that regulates what folks have to do in Dublin, with like a development that would come in, what requirements they have to follow. And then part of that is also our floodplain regulations. We need to have that all coordinated, and that is all those elements make up our stormwater management program. So this is a nice pond in Kramer Crossing. Just an example of the types of elements that we get with our stormwater. And I'm going to try to keep this brief, but I can kind of go off on tangents, so I'm going to try to, like I said, keep it brief. Prior to 1998, we used the stormwater code that was written by MORPC, which is the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. And basically, they only controlled the amount of water leaving the site, the quantity of water. In 95, the City of Dublin started redoing their community plan, and the powers that be decided, we need something a little better for Dublin. We need to have a more Dublinized approach to stormwater management. And that's when we hired Camp Dresser McKee. And the thing that they did, which is different than most municipalities around Central Ohio, is they looked at a watershed approach to stormwater management. Usually it's done on a site-by-site basis, okay? So we decided we're going to look holistically as to how all this water gets to these creeks and how it is managed on the site. It's looking at the whole watershed so we manage it properly. And then what we did, that established our new code in 98, which also added, so we had the quantity control before, but we made it more Dublinized, and then we added in this quality, or the cleanliness of the water leaving the site. We added a water quality component to it. And then in 2003, that's when EPA got on board, and they added a quality component. So we were 5 years ahead of everybody else in Central Ohio with our quality component and making sure the water was clean in Dublin. In 2005, we updated our code to meet what EPA changed, so that what we had was engineers were doing a set of calculations to meet Ohio EPA requirements, a set of calculations to meet our requirements, and proving that they met both so we could approve the site. So in 2005, we updated our code to be the same calculations, so they only had to do one. And then in 2007, we updated our manual and pulled it. It was originally in code where the requirements were for stormwater management. We pulled that out of code and actually made it a nice manual that folks could kind of look through and understand what they needed to do for stormwater management. In 2008, we decided, we've been doing this for about 10 years now. are we doing any good? Are we making a difference by having these restrictions on development in Dublin? Are we keeping the creeks and the streams clean? So we hired, as it turns out, through competitive bidding, Camp Dresser McKee again to look at our 5 most populated or most developed watersheds in the last 10 years. And that was Kramer, Cosgray, South Fork, North Fork, and then Billingsley Creek on the other side of the river. And we looked at those and had them analyze all of the developments that have developed, added that to the model, and then decided whether or not we were making a difference. As it turns out, of course we were. Had we done the quantity and quality control that Ohio EPA had in place, the water would be a lot dirtier, the creeks would be a lot more eroded because the water would have been leaving the sites a lot faster. So we were doing a good job. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't as if no development happened, but it was incremental to what it could have been. And then in 2013, just